April 24th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, we tickle your fancy with Tikal.
Let's do this.
So after all these years, I finally am taking the goddamn train to work instead of driving. And I gotta say, it's pretty terrific.
Well, it's a good time to start because now you can train your Pokemons on the train.
I can, and I did in fact train Pokemons for about half the time on the train.
Yeah, it's like I can't train Pokemons the whole time because I get tired and I fall asleep. But I got like 2 badges today, so I'm doing pretty good.
Well, I go in and out of Pokemon. I actually played a lot more Phoenix Wright.
Yeah, if I still hadn't beaten the Phoenix Wright, I would be playing that exclusive of everything else until I beat it.
Of course, I still got to play Hotel Dusk, too.
Yeah, you can wait on that one. It's not going anywhere. There's no rush on it.
Yeah, but I don't have a terrible rush on the Pokemon. I'm in no terrible hurry to start cockfighting with 12-year-olds.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this game, people are still going to be playing it and battling each other for some time to come. And, I mean, no one really likes to battle until they've leveled up all their Pokemon. So it's going to be a while before everyone is leveled up all the way. And then the real battling will start in a few months, and by then, I'll be all right.
Pretty much all I'm waiting for is I like Mudkips. So I got to get 3 or 4 of them, and then I'll be set to go.
Yeah.
What's that? Hiker with 3 Geodudes? I got him.
Okay.
But yeah, surprisingly, I get on the train, and there's no seats, because the train is absolutely full. I transferred onto the real commuter train from the city. Except there's one seat, and it's empty, and in the seat directly next to it is some punk gamer kid playing some game on a PSP.
All right.
So I sit down next to him, and I open up my DS, and I start playing on my DS.
Uh-huh.
And he looks over, and I look at him. I nod, he nods, we turn back to our games.
That's how it's done.
Yep.
Yeah, you didn't say, you're no good. You didn't say, you're no good. Both, gamer.
Yeah. Granted, not too long after that, I had a gay guy hit on me, but that's the story for another time.
Okay. So, I was driving out of the parking lot at the train station, and, I'd make a right turn out of the train station, and coming up on the other side of the road is a car. And in front of that car are punk kids on bikes.
Punk kids.
These are probably middle school kids.
Are they rolling around, weaving, slowing down traffic?
It seemed like they were trying to bike as fast as they could to get away from the car behind them because there wasn't really a sidewalk there, and they were biking in the road, which is fine. But yeah, they were like, sort of racing somewhat, like go, 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 right?
Well, that's what kids do. I mean, they hurry up everywhere. They run as fast as they can in whatever direction they're going at any time.
Yep, so yeah, 3 punk kids riding bikes as fast as they can straight, and I just try to pass them slowly on the right, and then I'll be on my way.
Yeah, you don't want to accidentally kill a punk kid.
No, it's not good. So, as I'm driving up, as is expected, the punk kid in the rear just falls over. Like,
what?
Wham!
Just like out of the blue?
Well, he was sort of biking, crazily, and his bike was going back and forth. He was doing the push-push.
Oh, he was a push-pusher.
Yep.
For those who are unaware, and not that, I'd like to mountain bike, and I've mountain biked forever, but even Scott knows this. So if you're ever biking, and you find that you stomp down one foot, and then you stomp down another foot, and you just stomp, stomp, stomp back and forth, there's a term for that. It's called push-push.
Yes, you realize a bicycle is a cycle. You spin the gear, which is a circle in a circle. You keep pushing constantly, evenly, without stopping.
And in fact, you should, on the upswing, lift the foot up a little bit so you're not resisting yourself. And if you're really cool, you get some clips, so when you're bringing your foot around, you can actually pull up and add even more power.
Yep, that's at a bicycle. So
Yeah.
anyway, this punk kid falls over like wham.
Like suddenly, like pedal, 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 floor.
And the weather is all nice, so I just stop right next to him, and I'm like, kid, you all right? The people behind me were like honking. I was like, whatever. And the kid, he moves around, so I'm like, oh, he's alive. And he goes,
well, it moves around, so he's on the ground squirming and gurgling.
No, he was
with
getting
the
up.
handlebar shoved through
He
his
was getting
stomach.
up, even though his bike looked broken.
Well, of course he was getting up. He was impaled.
Yeah, well, no. His bike was obviously broken. I saw at least a pedal and possibly a handle broken off.
See, now my guess here is that obviously he's a little chubby, and he's pushing. That's a lot of force on that pedal, alternatingly. He probably just snapped the pedal and went right down like a fat kid on a bike.
Probably. He wasn't that fat, but he was definitely the fat kid. And Yeah, it was pretty funny because when he was lying there, he was like, ah.
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 I got to admit, I've done that a lot in my life, and when I saw that on Family Guy. So, in the news, Jack Thompson. I didn't think I'd ever have to talk about him again, but luckily, it's over. We don't have to worry about Jack Thompson anymore. There is no chance that he will be newsworthy again until he dies. You see, Jack Thompson is now irrelevant. I go over all the news.
Wait. He's always been irrelevant. Well, I don't see what the news is.
He's always been irrelevant as far as smart people are concerned. He was somewhat relevant to the media, who for whatever reason lent him some credibility, and he was very much relevant to parents who don't know anything. People paid attention to him. Lawyers, at least for a little while, listened to him a little bit. Judges entertained his crazy notions, at least nominally.
I've never seen any judge entertain his notions. Generally he entertains the judges with his crazy notions.
I guess I would say they entertained them and that they did not immediately have him locked up.
They almost did.
Yeah, they did. But it's kind of come all the way around. And just recently, I don't even need to talk about what he's been doing lately because the media has started pointing out that he's a crazy nutbag and that no one should listen to him and that he's just insane.
Hooray.
So, I will not ever bother talking about Jack Thompson again unless, one, he starts playing video games, or two, he dies. One of the two is going to happen at some point.
I'm pretty sure he's at least played a video game once. I mean, he's had to play a Pac-Man at some point. At least a Pac-Man.
There's a chance he never has.
There's a chance, but I'm pretty sure he's played a Pac-Man. And he's definitely at least seen some games at some point.
Has he really? Because I remember reading some of the things he said, and he would make statements that sound very much like the guy in 40-Year-Old Virgin who was trying to lie about how he'd had sex once. It's like touching a sandbag.
It's like a bag of sand.
Yeah.
Say no more.
Luckily,
is your wife a goer?
Are you into photography?
What's it like?
But it's over. I had to say something because I'm actually kind of surprised that the media has turned on him just yet, because I'd figure right around now is when they'd want to push it one last time before they do the, turn around, take a different position on an issue, so suddenly it's news again.
It seems to me like the media in general is trying to do something different with the, the whole crazy VT whatever business, because every time there's been something like this, what ends up happening is the media reports on it the way they've been reporting on things for the past decade or so, and the backlash against the way the media does that reporting increases every single time. So I think someone had the genius idea, I don't know who it was, but whoever they are is smart, to say, hey, let's change it up and do things differently so we don't get this annoying backlash. Because they got a really rough backlash from actually the people at Virginia Tech who were like, hey, go home, media. We don't want you here. And that they've never had that before. And I think that woke someone up. And it seems to me like someone is paying attention to what blogs say. And it seems like in a lot of, not just with the Virginia Tech thing, but with a lot of things, I get the feeling that real journalists are reading blogs and Dig and that sort of thing, getting the general vibe of what those people are saying, and then presenting it through their media in a, journalistic fashion.
I really wouldn't be surprised, because you can very quickly figure out the sentiments of the majority of internet people just by reading 3 or 4 forums.
Yeah, and I'll see where this goes, but I really don't care either way. It's just interesting. All right, so if you're cool, you don't just play video games. You also play the German board games. If you don't play the German board games, you're not cool. Sorry. I'm just sorry. You suck.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know about German board games until I got to college.
Yeah, well, if you don't play the German board games, there's still hope for you if you're not dead yet and you're not about to die, because you have a chance to play them and become cool. Not only do you have a chance to play them and become cool, but you can play them without buying them. Well, without buying them physically and without having to find friends who can play them. Because the 2 German board games that I would most highly recommend you play before any others are Settlers of Catan and Carcassonne. And, well, Microsoft, for some time, has owned the video game rights to Settlers of Catan, and I think they have a website where you can play it for money. You have to pay them to be able to use it, but it's supposedly really good. And I think they just bought the video game rights to Carcassonne in the U.S., and in May, Settlers is going to be on the Xbox Live. And in June, the Carcassonne is going to be on the Xbox Live. And there's a lot of screenshots, and they look pretty hot.
Now, despite the fact that Settlers is, at its core, a terribly flawed game.
Settlers is a terribly flawed game. If everyone knows how to play and everyone knows all the rules, then it pretty much just comes down to randomness who wins.
And that was really put into relief when I entered the tournament, but I think I've talked about that before.
Yeah.
But despite that, a lot of people, in fact, I'd say the vast majority of people, including gamers, including people who are really into all sorts of gaming, really don't play the German board games. They just don't know about them. It's kind of a thing that you wouldn't think on your own to just go and get into. You need to see someone else and have them get you into it in most cases. I mean, that's how we all got into it. That's how everyone I know got into it. And putting a game like Settlers on Xbox Live like that is perhaps the most perfect way to get people into German board gaming ever.
Well, it does seem like, we got into it when? Like 2000-ish? 2002-ish maybe? I don't know.
It was 2000.
Yeah. And it seems like ever since then, it's just been growing. It's like no one ever un-German board games. People only, get into it. They never get out.
Yeah, at worst, you don't have enough time to play as many games as you want, but you always want to play one.
Yeah, as soon as you're into it, you're into it. And I just see more and more people. It's totally spreading like a virus. And, first it's Settlers, and then it's Carcassonne. Then you'll see people playing Puerto Rico, and then it's T&E, and the game's over.
Yeah, once you hit T&E, you're pretty much the hardest of hardcore board gamer as far as I can see.
I could see eventually, like, I'd say when we're old men, like, T&E will be as big, like, the biggest game. Like, huge.
I mean,
like
really.
Monopoly.
T&E, I'd like to talk about that some of the staying power of different kinds of games, because despite how much we love board games, we still hate the majority of board games.
It's pretty sad.
Over the years, I think we own every board game that's ever been made that's worth playing.
Yeah.
Except for the ones that just came out in Germany that we haven't.
Or the ones we don't know about.
Yeah, but
which are many.
We seek them out as best we can. But despite the fact that Settlers is kind of a flawed game, it's also a wonderful game, especially if you've never played a game like that before, because it has in it all of the elements that make German board gaming or Eurogaming in general so different and so much more intellectually stimulating than American-style board games. And it encapsulates it all into this one simple game that's easy to understand. The game includes, most importantly, a lot of social elements. And I can't wait to hear transcripts of some Xbox Live gamer kids with that Xbox Live chat trying to trade brick and sheep and wooden grains.
Oh my god. Yo, dude, hook me up with some leap bricks, yo.
Man, I gotta tell you, I need some sheep for this wood I got here.
Yeah.
You can't hold 10 wood.
You can't hold 10 wood.
But
so yeah, Settlers, it's one of those games where it's not a great game, but it's like the perfect entry level game. So it's sort of like how no one who's brand new to video gaming can really play Counter-Strike because it's sort of this advanced game that's, not easy for a complete
the first time I played Counter-Strike, and this is someone who had played Action Quake 2 for years, I literally would just die. I couldn't do anything.
But someone who's played Counter-Strike will tell you that, I don't know, Team Fortress Classic is a sucky game, and it kind of is. But if you've never played an FPS before, Team Fortress Classic is like the game to play to learn how to play a team FPS.
Yep, because once you play that game, you've learned everything. Now you could play Weapons Factory or Team Fortress 2 or whatever's coming out now. You'd have all the basics down.
Yep. Carcassonne is the same way, only it's actually a good game worth playing. So you sort of get a double bonus here in that you're going to play Settlers of Catan, learn how to play German board games, get good at them, learn to like them, and figure out why they're awesome. But eventually, you're not going to like Settlers anymore because you're going to figure out everything that's wrong with it, unless you're just dumb. And then you're going to get Carcassonne, which is a game that will learn you the next kind of German board game, get you into some tile-laying action. And then you're never going to get bored with that one because it's actually a good game.
Yeah, I mean, despite how much we've played Carcassonne, we still haven't solved it, and we haven't determined that it's not random, but nor have we in any way found evidence that it is random.
Yeah. Generally, with the greater numbers of tiles, the randomness decreases. But at the same time, with greater numbers of tiles, the randomness increases.
Yeah, but the thing is, real quick, the best way to tell if a game is random is once you play it with a few people enough, or you've got a bunch of people you know who are generally equally and or maximally skilled at a game. People who have played the game so much that they're super good at it, that if they played against someone with moderate skill, they would just cream them without question.
Yeah, for example, if I played against like 3 noobs at Settlers, I would win every single time because I'm better than they are.
But if you played against...
But if I played against Rim and
Alex
and someone else who was really good at Settlers, basically, we would all be maximum good. No one could be better. No one would win every time. It would just come down to the dice.
Yep. So if we played Settlers a lot and eventually got to the point where the distribution of wins over time averaged out to where everyone won an equal number of times. And at that point, it was obvious that the game was actually random at that point.
You might as well just roll a dice. Whoever rolls the highest number wins the end.
Now, Carcassonne, to this day, there is still a very clear and frequent victor. One person wins more often than everyone else, always, no matter what we do to the game. And there's no way randomness is the factor because everyone has generally equal playtime and generally equal skill. So there are still tricks and things that make the game non-random.
Yep. But yeah, these games are going to be on Xbox Live. And if you've got an Xbox, which we don't, but you might, and you should be playing these and not playing anything else on the Xbox because anything else on the Xbox isn't as good as this.
Yeah, I mean, I can't stress this enough. Settlers of Catan I still would put it on a list of the 10 most important board games ever made.
Yeah, maybe not best, but definitely most important.
And you know what? It is best. Just eventually you solve it. You move on. It's like, you want to get a motorcycle. You get a little 250cc motorcycle, and you learn how to drive the motorcycle. And you're real good at it, and you're happy. And then you realize that the 250cc has a lot of limitations that you didn't know about because you didn't know about motorcycles. And you never, ever, ever want to ride the 250cc motorcycle again, and you get a 1000cc motorcycle. But you still remember that 250cc, and you remember how important it was for you learning.
Yep.
And of course, one final bit of news that I figure we should bring up. I heard PC gaming's dead.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I heard it was dead.
I'm pretty sure that's old news.
I don't think anyone plays PC games in the entire world.
Really?
I not at all. I mean, that's what I saw. I read it somewhere on the internet.
Oh, with all these Macs and Linux everywhere, it's not a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, no one runs Windows.
No.
You know what I like?
Mudkips.
Things of the day. So we both got video game things of the day because, of course, it is, nominally gaming day. But tonight, video game day, at least until we get into board games, which we're actually talking about.
Games all around.
Anyway, a lot of games, especially on consoles, have a lot of beta versions or test versions or test concept art or whatnot that, unlike with PC games, never sees the light of day.
Well, it does see the light of day. It just doesn't ever get seen by normal people. Like, if there's a beta of, I don't know,
Fine, it never sees the light of the internet. Common folk like myself and yourself do not see the beta screenshots from Mario 1.
No, because these games are developed by guys at a company in a place where there's high security. They're not allowed to take pictures. No one goes in, no one goes out except the guys working on it. Everyone's got contracts where they don't tell anyone anything. They don't give screenshots to any reviewers or magazines until everything's all ready.
Also, when they make versions, a lot of times for testing, they'll make cartridges of it, internal cartridges and things. And it's not like a PC game.
When it's a cartridge game.
Yeah. Well, that's what the games I'm looking at are.
Yeah.
Because you see, Coin Heaven has found a site called Unseen64, and there they have beta screenshots from a whole host of games, many of which aren't good or I'd never heard of. However...
Well, I'm not 100% sure these are all real. I mean, some of them probably are, some aren't, who knows, but they're all cool nonetheless.
Well, they're all from a site that's not in English.
Aha.
So, be warned there. However, one, this is a bunch of screenshots from various early incarnations of various Mario games. I think my favorites are down at the bottom. There's a lot of stuff from what Super Mario World looked like when they were first working on it, back when Mario 3 was still fresh in their minds.
Yep. See, that's my favorite, actually, because it shows you, like, how much Mario 3 was kept in the Super Mario World. They kept the music note blocks. They kept the raccoon tail. They kept all this stuff. And then they kept the turtles, walking on all four legs instead of just the hind legs. And it shows you just how much they changed during the development of that game. Because they basically started out with just Mario 3.
My favorite picture here has to be, hands down, the really creepy, sad, scary Luigi from whatever version of Luigi's Mansion. I don't know if this was actually going to be in the game, but if Luigi's Mansion had looked like this, I would have been so much more likely to play it.
I'm not a big fan of that picture there.
I don't know. I like that aesthetic a lot more than the goofy kind of do style that Luigi's Mansion actually was.
Yeah.
I still can't believe you bothered beating that game.
Well, it was actually fun. It just wasn't long enough to be worth playing ever again, and there wasn't any replay value at all. So, Luigi's Mansion is an okay game. It has some fun bits. Plus, it has a lot of booze. Booze will always get me to play.
Yeah, I don't know. By the time you're catching your 90th General Beauregard...
There's only one General Beauregard.
Oh, yeah, don't they all have different names?
Yes.
Even though they're all actually identical?
No, they're not.
No, there's like several different archetypes or whatever, but it's mostly the same deal.
Well, no, pretty much each boo, there's like a trick you have to do to catch each one. That's what the game is. Like the puzzle of how do I catch this boo? That's the point.
I don't know, you just didn't look like you were having fun playing it. You spent a lot of your time yelling and complaining while I was sitting playing Counter-Strike next to you.
I don't really remember complaining so much, but I beat it, and I'm done with it.
I remember hearing a lot of, all right, there he is. Fuck, he went to the wall. Where'd he go? Another one.
I don't remember that, but it wasn't a very memorable game. Maybe I'll play it again.
You know what? You do that, and I'll continue to train Pokemons.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be training Pokemons. All right, so I think a long time ago, one of my thing of the days was some preview images from a art gallery that would be dealing with 8-bit arts or 8-bit related arts. Well, guess what? At the Gallery 1988 in LA, just a little while ago, they opened up a new show, what do you call it? I don't know. A show.
A gallery opening?
An exposition, I don't know, called I Am 8-Bit, and it is awesome. And these guys went to it on the opening night when it was crazy crowded, and they took pictures of pretty much everything there. So if you can't go to LA, you can still see all the awesome arts.
Thank you, Internet.
Now, let me tell you, a lot of these arts are freaking awesome. Holy shits. I mean, some of them are better than others, but goddamn, some of them are the highest quality. Like, I would buy, if this was for sale, I would buy half of it to hang up on the walls in the house.
I think that's part of why when we go to cons, I spend most of my purchasing time in the artist alley, especially at like Otakon, instead of the real dealer's room, because all the cool stuff are the handmade custom art that's based on video games.
Yeah. I gotta say, some of my personal favorites. Well, my number one favorite is on the first page. It's right in the middle. It's the Donkey Kong one. It's hard to miss it. And I want that so... If I had to pick just one thing here to get, I would totally get that.
I mean, one, it's in that style that we both really, really like. Two, it looks like a movie poster for an old movie.
Yep.
Three, it's Donkey Kong.
Yeah, it's tough to beat that
I mean,
stuff.
if we ever make a Geeknights poster, I want it to be almost exactly like that, only instead of a monkey, it's us.
Another notable favorites are like the homemade plushies of the Burger Time guys, the Donkey Kong's Last Supper, the giant plastic rack full of a bajillion little clay miniatures of a zillion characters, the Thwomp statue. There's so much good stuff here that if you're a fan of video games, video game culture, you need to go look at everything here because it will entertain you greatly.
You know what? You said the word Thwomp, and my brain went off, and I was thinking, and I realized what would be an awesome product.
All right.
So, a lot of people have Venetian blinds, but sometimes you have those, you pull down the plastic sheet that blocks the window entirely, like the vinyl sheet.
Yep.
What if you had one of those where both sides of it were a perfect image of a Thwomp that you pull down?
That's not bad.
I want that in my window now.
All right, well, you go do that.
Okay, I will.
Oh, I just see another really good one here. It's got, I can't tell if it's a Mario or Luigi, but he's wearing the Tanuki suit, and he's warming his hands by a little fire with eyeballs. It's pretty funny.
Why is he with eyeballs?
Yeah, you know, the kind of fires that jump out of
Oh, the ones from the Pyramid World in Mario 3.
Yeah.
That kind of fire.
Yep.
A Charmander kind of fire.
Yeah, that kind. The Calcifer kind.
How does Charmander make that little fire anyway?
He's a fire Pokemon.
But
That is a dragon breathe fire.
Dragon breathing fire I can understand, but to be constantly on fire, I mean, it's like those pipes that they have next to an oil field that keeps burning.
Yeah.
Is he just constantly putting gas out?
I don't know. I also want to tell you one last thing about this art gallery. If you go to page 4 and you scroll down, you'll start seeing these. Someone did some really good art they drew the mugshots from Punch-Out of all the bad guys, starting with Glass Joe. And they drew all the guys, beaten up. They didn't draw them, before they got beaten up. They drew them post getting beaten up. And you scroll down, and it's like, all right, Glass Joe, Piston Honda, King Hippo, Soda Popinski. And then at the bottom, there's a really good joke that you should see.
Because I haven't actually looked at this yet, and Scott can vouch for that because he's been constantly trying to make me go over there and look at most of these. I've seen a couple from a distance that he, made me look up as he turns his laptop over, but
Yep.
I've been mostly being difficult and staying over here by my desk working on things.
Uh-huh.
Is the last picture just Little Mac?
No.
Because he lost, and then Mike Tyson actually won, so it's not a picture of him?
No.
Because that's the joke I would have made.
It's a much better joke than that. It's a much more obvious joke that I can't believe you didn't figure out.
All right, so Scott just showed it to me, and I think my joke was a lot better than what's actually there, which is pretty lame.
Oh, I think it's a funny joke.
That's a really unoriginal joke.
I know it's unoriginal. That's why it's funny.
Nah, I would submit the opposite.
You suck.
So anyway.
Also, props to the Katamari Pac-Man.
So, tonight, we are reviewing, as we are wont to do, an old board game, partly because we don't have so many new board games. Though, at Gaming for Hope, we did in fact play a board game that we are going to be talking about as soon as we buy it so we can play it again.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure that it's a game with infinite staying power.
Oh, it's definitely not. I'm almost sure of that.
But it's definitely an awesome, fun game that we are going to recommend to you. But we will not talk about that now. Tonight we will talk about another game.
A game that isn't nearly as good as that game, but it's still a fun game. This game has a lot of nostalgia for me because it's one of the first board games I ever bought after I got into German gaming.
Yep.
It was pretty much this, El Grande, and Settlers that I got right away.
Well, the game we are about to talk about is the winner of the 1999 Spiel des Jahres and the 1999 Deutsche Spielpreis. It is designed by Wolfgang Kramer and published and Michael Kielsing.
I only know Kramer. I don't know who the other guy is.
I don't know who the other guy is either. I thought it was only Wolfgang Kramer. That's why I hesitated.
Yep.
It's published by Rio Grande Games in the U.S. and Ravensburger and Abacus elsewhere, I guess. And the game is Tikal. Tikal. Also known as Tickle by us. We call it Tickle.
Now, Tikal is part of this trilogy. I think it was called the Mask. It says right here. It's called the Mask Trilogy.
Yep.
There are two other games that are very, very similar to Tikal, made by the same people.
Well, they're thematically similar.
They're similar in more ways than that.
Yes, and they have the action point system.
Yes, hence they're very similar. They share a great many game mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Tikal and the other two games are Java, which we've played, and I think I'm the only person in our crew who likes that game.
Yeah,
and I
only played it. I don't know if I played both Java and Maya. I know I've played at least one of them, and I only played the one of them that I have played once, so I barely remember.
It's not Maya, it's Mexica.
Oh, okay.
Tikal, Java, Mexica.
Okay.
I've never played Mexica.
Okay. So then Java's the one I have played, and I only played it once.
Java is the one where basically all three of these games, the main thing they have in common, other than theme, cover art, and general game mechanics, the main thing is that all of these games have this system where they'll give you a number of action points on your turn. So say you get 10 action points, and there are a number of actions you can take, and each action takes a number of action points.
So you have this little card in front of you, and the card will say, putting a guy on the board costs 1 point, moving a guy costs 1 point, building a house costs 3 points. So on your turn, let's say you could, if what I just said is true, you could build 3 houses and put a guy on the board. That's 10 points, you're done.
Or you could put 10 guys on the board.
Yep. It's up to you to use your 10 your action points in any way you want. according to the prices laid out on the card. And the prices laid out on the card don't change. It's just that's what it costs to do things.
It's a very elegant system. However, in Java in particular, after playing the game 3 or 4 times, I figured out exactly how they determine the number of action points to give you.
Well, yeah.
So it's a German game. So obviously what they did is they went to a German pub, because actually in Germany, from what we have heard tell, a lot of people play these games just recreationally all the time.
Well, that's what we hear. I don't know how much true it is, but that's what I hear.
Well, hence I said that's what we hear tell.
Yep.
But they went to a pub, they found a bunch of Germans who were sitting around, and they put this game in front of them, and they gave them 20 action points and said, play the game. And the game progressed normally. Then they gave them all a round of beers, and they gave them 19 action points instead per turn, and they played again. And every time, they gave them a round of beer, and they took away an action point. The exact moment a fist fight broke out, they knew exactly how many goddamn action points to put in that game. God damn it, did Java just... You never had enough points, and the game just hurt constantly, and your option was basically screw another player horribly and totally, or do something totally ineffectual and get like 1 point.
Yeah, it's basically...
It was beautiful.
The way everything works out and the way everything costs in order to do anything, it's like it'll get to your turn, right? And you'll be like, all right, it's my turn. I can get a bunch of points if I do that thing over there. How can I use these 10 action points in order to achieve that thing that will get me a bunch of victory points, and so I can win the game?
In Java, you're always one short, so you always got to plan 2 turns ahead. But the moment you think you're planned ahead, someone else who's playing just puts one of those tiles right in your way, and it's all over.
Yep. It's like, all right, I'll do this and this and this and this and this, and I there's no way I can do it. I don't have enough points. Good God. I guess I'll just use these points to fuck someone else, because subtracting 5 from them is almost as good as adding 5 to me.
Now, luckily, Tikal does not have that problem, even though I don't think it's a problem. I think you guys are all just wusses. I love Java. I think it's a great game.
I only played it once. I barely remember it.
Well, Tikal is... The basic idea of Tikal is that you are some sort of archaeologist, and you lead an archaeologist team, and you are going through various jungles, digging up temples and digging up treasures.
Yep.
Meanwhile, there are a bunch of other archaeologists with their own teams, and they're also going around digging up temples and digging up treasures.
And you want to dig up more temples and treasures than they do, and better ones. That way, you are the famous explorer and archaeologist, and they are the loser.
So the way the game progresses is every round you draw a tile, you look at it, the tile might have some stuff on it, you place the tile on the board. Then you spend 10 action points doing things, and things include putting archaeologist on the board, putting your one really fat archaeologist on the board.
He's like a triple archaeologist superpower.
Yeah, he's gigantic. He must be one of those Nazis in an Indiana Jones movie.
He must be. I don't know what he is, but he's really powerful.
Or, like, you can move guys around, you can excavate a temple, which makes it more valuable by digging up more of it, and oh, it's bigger than we thought. You can dig up some treasure, you can steal someone else's treasure and leave some crap treasure in their space instead.
Yeah, because like the way the treasures work is pretty simple. There's so many treasures in the game, and there's 3 of each kind. So when you get a treasure, you want to get a bunch of the same treasure. Like, let's say I get...
Well, the reason is, whenever you score, 1 treasure is worth 1 point. 1 set of 2 is worth 3 points, and a set of 3 is worth 6 points. So
yes.
You definitely want sets.
So let's say I dig up the elephant mask. I want to get more elephant masks. I don't want to get, like, some gold jewels or anything. I want to get elephant masks, because I've already got one.
Now, the other interesting mechanic there is that, yeah, you can spend action points to swap treasures with people, but you can never break up a set of any number.
Yep.
So the game, and also, due to the nature of the game, you know that before the end, every single treasure will come up.
Well, they might not all get dug up before the end of the game, but they probably will.
Every single treasure will be available in the game. It will be there, and you could get it if you wanted it.
If you really, really, really wanted it, you could get it. It's possible that someone might just make it very difficult to get, and there's no reason to go for it.
See, the way the game progresses, though, in fact, I would say that no competent player would ignore a treasure that was out by itself like that. And I can't see any situation where people would ignore a treasure.
Well, someone could line it up in such a way that you'd have to move a guy over so much territory.
But there are always multiple ways to get something. And if they spent all their time doing something like that, they lost the game for themselves already because they're not a competent player.
Yep. Well, it depends. It could just be a weird map that one time.
See, no, I think the way the game progresses and the way the types of tiles are, no player who has a chance of winning the game could do that.
I don't know.
There is no way to do that and win the game if everyone is equally confident, because that you've already wasted a tile placement.
Oh, it's true. It's true.
So it won't come up ever, unless you're playing with people who suck at the game. But anyway, so you draw a tile. It might have stuff on it. You place it. You take your 10 actions, and you're done. And then everyone goes around, draw a tile, play a tile, take 10 action points.
Eventually.
Someone draws a volcano.
Oh, shit, it's a volcano and not a temple of something. We're in big trouble now.
Here's the fun mechanic of scoring. When you score, the volcano's drawn, you all go around. Everyone takes 10 action points and then scores, one at a time. And the way you score is really simple. You count up your treasures, and then, for every temple that's excavated, look to see who has the most archaeologists there. Whoever has the most gets the points. If you're tied, nobody gets any points.
Right, so let's say there's a temple there, and the temple is a 5-point temple, and I have 4 archaeologists there. Rim draws the volcano. He moves 5 archaeologists there. Now, and then he's done, and he scores his 5 points for that temple.
Yep, so now it's Scott's turn to score.
I moved 2 more archaeologists there to get 6, which is greater than Rim's 5, and I score the points for that temple.
So now we both got the same number of points.
Yeah, but at the same time, Rim might go, ha ha ha, I'll move so many guys there. And now you had all those guys already sitting there expecting to get 5 points. But now all those guys that you spent action points are useless. They're not getting you anything.
It's not quite the traditional system of have the most guys everywhere, get the points, whatever, because you score one by one, and getting points for yourself does not necessarily preclude anyone else from also getting those points. And in fact, if you're playing the game mathematically, each guy you put there decreases the percentage chance that another player will be able to get those points, or in the very least increases the opportunity cost of getting those points. So you have to play a lot of percentage statistics games, and you have to do a lot of calculations to figure out, for each guy I put there, how many points on average am I denying the person by forcing them to put another guy there to get the same number of points? It's not nearly as straight up as other games are.
Yeah, it's like, all right, if that guy wants to he could get all these points right now with his 10 action points. So if I do this, all right, now I'm denying him those points. Or if he chooses to get these points, he's denying himself all those other points over there. And you just kind of have to maneuver your guys in such a way that not only do you get as many points as you can, but you make it as hard as possible for other people to just get a whole bunch of points. And you make it as expensive as possible for them to get some more.
Now, at its core, that's it. That's the whole game. When you get to the end, you do a final scoring round. Whoever has the most points wins. And there are a lot of really interesting ideas here. I mean, one, I said you can excavate temples. It makes them more valuable. For when you have guys on temples, you can spend the time and action points to dig them up. And every time you dig them up, they're worth 1 more point.
So let's say I'm sitting as a temple, and the temple's worth 3 points. It says 3 on it, right? And I got a guy sitting there. So I tell the guy, hey, guy, dig. And the temple becomes worth 4 points. Hooray.
Now, all right, great. You think, all right, why don't you just dig up every temple you've got? Well, doesn't mean someone else could just take your temple from you by having more guys there.
Yep.
Digging up a temple, spending your resources, your action points to dig up that temple does not in the end guarantee that you will get any of those points. You might dig up temples and never ever get the points for them if everyone else just keeps jumping in.
Yep, so I have a guy in a temple, I dig it up, and now it's worth 6 points. And then Rim moves a bunch of guys over there and takes the 6 points from me, and now I can't move enough guys in to get the 6 points back. I basically just gave Rim a whole pile of action points.
Yep, because
that hurts real bad.
So the game comes down, there's a lot of not so much risk management, but definitely you have to look at opportunity costs and calculate opportunity costs of every possible action as quickly as possible in order to determine how worth it is to defend something, or more importantly, how worth it is to expend your precious, limited resources to improve something that may not be yours in the future.
Yeah, the other thing in this game is you have to notice opportunities on the board. Like, oh, there's a way I can get all those points over there if I do this, if I spend my action points in this clever way, building a tent or something like that. Aha!
I pulled a really clever one because we played the game not too long ago so we could review it. And it's a trick that I thought about, but I never had the opportunity to do, and it worked out so well. Alex had a really valuable temple, and he had a few guys defending it. I think he had 2 guys there, but there was no one anywhere near it at all. So he didn't have to worry, and it was worth a lot of points. A scoring round came up, And there's one thing you can do in the game where you can only do this twice, and there's a heavy cost for doing it. And not only does it cost a lot of action points, but it also costs you physical guys. You lose archaeologists permanently. But basically, the mechanic comes down to, if you're winning a temple, you can sacrifice all your guys there to basically put an archaeologist with a machine gun on top of it, and now it is yours no matter what forever.
Yeah, so let's say there's a temple sitting there. It's worth like 8 points, so I don't want to let anyone have it. I don't want anyone to get those 8 points but me, and I dug up most of it, so there's no way I'm letting anyone else get those points. And I've got like 5 archaeologists there, and Rim's got 2. So I say, all right, screw this, and I kill those 5 archaeologists, and so I can't use them anymore in the game, which is pretty rough because you only have a limited number of the guys available to you in the game.
And if you're not using all of them at all times, you're probably losing.
Well, you have to spend the first part of the game getting them all onto the board, but once they're all on the board, you use them all at all times.
Yeah, but you got to be careful because if you put too many out too quickly, you very much hamper yourself in terms of taking future actions because now you're limited in your sphere of influence.
Yeah, but also if you put not enough out early enough, you're not going to get enough guys on the board to take control of anything.
I actually have exact numbers of guys I put out in different rounds of the game that I play. I play the same way every time. And I win a lot of the time. So, but partly that's because I played this game more than everyone else because I bought it way back and I played it with this whole other group of people a bunch of times.
Yeah, so I don't want Rim getting those points, and I say, all right, I kill all these 5 archaeologists, and they go away, and I'm fucked. But now those are my 8 points in every scoring round from now until the end of the game, no matter what. I don't have to worry about it. I can concentrate elsewhere.
Now think about it. It's not just now this temple is super well defended. It's no matter what, no one else can ever get these points, nor can they ever take these points away from me. It's huge.
Yep. However, there is quite a disadvantage that is not so obvious. That, okay, let's say I got 5 guys there and Rim's got 3, right? Rim's 3 guys right now are sort of, they're not going to move. They're going to stay there to fight, to get these points. And if I can hold Rim's guys there and they're not really useful because he doesn't want to make them leave to go do something else, but they're not doing anything sitting there. So I'm sort of keeping Rim's guys hostage. By sacrificing my guys, I'm losing 5 guys, which is a lot worse than Rim effectively losing 3 guys. But now, by putting the machine gun guy on top of the temple, Rim's 3 guys are free, and they can go do something else because they're no longer a use for him there. Now he knows that there's no reason to keep him there, and he can go run away and grab something else that might be worth more points.
So Alex had a temple that was moderately defended and was worth a lot of points. There was no one really near it. But I had calculated, and I had kept my 3 guy, my 1 archaeologist who's worth 3 points, and it was near the end of the game.
The fat guy.
Yep, the fat guy. So I had exactly enough points to where when it was time, right during a scoring round, because I happened to be scoring before him, and he was counting on those points, I spent all of my action points to move my 3 guy over to that temple and then cap it.
Oh.
He was so pissed. It was beautiful.
Yeah. The thing with the 3 guy is there's quite a bit of strategy surrounding the 3 guy. It's all your archaeologists are worth 1, and they cost the same to move, and they're basically, if you're looking to see who has the most in an area, you count them as 1.
Yep. So say you've got 4 guys and you want to move them to the next tile, and say it costs 2 action points to move across that barrier to the next tile. Moving those 4 guys across costs you 8 points.
Yep. But the 3 guy is a single guy who's worth 3. So if I've got this guy next to a temple and you've got 2 guys next to the same temple, I win because he's worth 3.
Yep.
But to move him around, you move him around as if he's only 1 guy because he's only 1 guy. So if it would normally take 2 action points to move a guy from one tile to the next, right? This guy takes 2 to move from one tile to the next. But to take 3 guys across the same barrier would cost 6 points. So he's really useful.
Now, in terms of more advanced strategy, the real uses of this guy are mostly to go gather treasure, because since he can move quickly and he counts as multiple guys, he can dig up a bunch of treasure really quick, really easily, no matter where it's hidden.
Yep, because normally you need 1 guy on a tile can dig up 1 treasure per turn, and you can dig up 2 treasures per tile per turn maximum. So if you're going to go get a treasure, you can move this guy over there, and it costs a lot less to have him move to the treasure tile, and then he can dig up 2 treasures all on his own because he's worth 3 guys.
Now, the only other real use is if you put him in a temple-dense area, And especially if it's an area that's contended between you and other players, you can use him to leverage around and to guarantee that you'll score something over there. It's kind of like a heavy hitter. Other than that, a lot of players like to use him a lot early on and move him around a lot and waste action points when they could have done things more efficiently. And also, a lot of people, they make the mistake of thinking he's more valuable than he is. And you really shouldn't be above suddenly using him in a blitz to capture a temple with a guard and lose him from the game to suddenly take the upper hand somewhere.
Yeah, especially if it's like right before the second scoring round, that's probably a good time because then you get a whole bunch of points for it, but you still used him to dig up some treasure before.
Well, it also doesn't help that on many playings of this game, I've discovered that in general, the only two ways to score are the temples and the treasure. The treasure is mostly useless, and you can very much win mostly ignoring the treasure.
You
cannot win.
You can't completely ignore the treasure. You won't win that way.
However, it's trivial to gather at least one set, which will keep you in the game, with almost no effort and no resource expenditure.
Yeah, it does seem like if you actually try to get a whole lot of treasure, you end up having to spend a lot of action points, unless you're just so lucky that you're the one who always draws the treasure tiles, in which case it's just luck. And you end up getting a lot of points for it, but not enough to actually win. And if you spend all those action points getting all those treasures, you're not going to have enough action points to get any temples, and you're not going to win that way.
Now, not to get into a lot of detail about the core down mechanics, we could talk forever about the relative value of treasures. But the truth is, playing this game multiple times, there is one primary, fairly obvious path to victory. And once you see one person use this method, all the game really comes down to is placing tiles in such a way that you can cordon off an area of the board where it's very difficult for other players to get to, yet you can easily move guys in or have guys there. And then you proceed to, with very few guys, control a great number of temples, dig them up as fast as possible, and leave one or two guys on each, getting a whole ton of points. I've never seen a good player win any other way consistently.
Yep. The thing is, if everyone's a good player, they'll recognize when you're trying to do this, they'll look at the board and they'll say, aha, so-and-so is going to be able to do this in that area over there, and with the tiles that they draw, hopefully they'll be able to stop you.
Now, you see, this is the one kind of problem with the game early on, and they recognized it, that, all right, so everyone's good, and they realized that tile placement matters more than anything. Placing tiles in ways to get more points is the best way to win.
Mm-hmm.
So, now the most important thing on your turn is what tile you drew. But the tiles are drawn randomly.
Well, they're drawn semi-randomly. The tiles have letters on the back, A, B, C, D, E, F,
in
G.
terms of what you draw, they're random.
Yep.
The only non-random factor is the progression of the game in terms of what kinds of tiles can come up at which times.
Yep. Early in the game, you'll always get tiles that are easy to move between, and generally the temples on them aren't worth so many, but the treasures on them, you'll get tiles with a whole lot of treasures. Late in the game, you'll get temples that are worth a lot of points, and if you get a treasure tile, it'll probably only have 2 treasures on it, maybe 3.
But when I say random, I mean that the tile you draw, you have no control over that. You're stuck with it. And the luck of the draw, you might never draw a treasure tile, never get to place one. You might always get temples that are useless. You might always get open land. And as a result, advanced players could easily make a valid point that I only lost because I draw crap tiles.
And sometimes that's true. Most of the time it's not, because things tend to even out, but it's still... At least once I've lost simply because I just kept drawing tiles that weren't worth anything, and there was nothing I could do with them.
In the trend of a lot of older German-style games, there is included alternate rules. And the alternate rules, it's the exact same game, for the most part, except that now, instead of playing the game with the random tile drawing, everyone starts with a number of victory points. You then, in a incredibly kludgy mechanic that I really don't like, but that might just be a factor of the times, bid victory points. You bid straight up the victory points you need to win, because whoever has the most at the end wins, for who gets to pick the tile first.
Yeah, so you'll draw, let's say there's 4 players, right? You'll draw 4 tiles from the stack, and you'll say, all right, who wants to, whoever bids first will say, how many victory points they're willing to spend to pick a tile first. And then someone else will say how many victory points they're willing to spend to pick a tile first. And you go around and around and around, and whoever's willing to spend more victory points will be able to draw tiles before the other people do. And you can see all the tiles that are available, So you're not going to be like, bidding to get some mystery tile. You're bidding for, there's a treasure there. I want that treasure real bad. I'll spend 3 victory points to get that treasure tile.
Now, the problem is, going into this alternate rule set, and we all fell for this, we thought, all right, there's going to be a lot of bidding. It's going to be a bidding game now. This is going to be great. Actually, the bidding is really not fun. It generally tends to fall into the cyclical pattern of one person will keep going first, or one person will keep going last, or Scott will keep overbidding for treasure tiles.
I only did that once.
Yeah, well, you did it enough in the early part of the game to lose.
Yeah, I did it once in the early game. I spent way too much for this one treasure tile, and then I realized I couldn't do what I wanted to do with it.
What really sucked was that at the end, we counted the difference in points, and it really might have made the difference if Scott hadn't bid that much. He probably would have won.
I might have won, yes. But it was not a good move.
The truth is that the bidding mechanic isn't meant to be used as a bidding mechanic. You shouldn't just be bidding like, I'll bid 1, 2, 3, 4, and all that fun stuff. All it is that generally, if there's a great disparity in the value of the tiles that come up, there will be a quick correction where the tile that is worth the most will cost the person who gets it a little bit, thus evening out the randomness. It's basically a hack to make the game a little less random.
I would have a lot less problem with it if it was more fun that way. It's like, okay, we've made the game less random.
We've also made it less fun.
Yeah, it's like, and now the game is sort of fair, and you can't complain that you only lost because you didn't get the tiles you wanted, because you could have gotten the tiles you wanted. However, now the game is not interesting as it was, because there's no more. I think a lot of the game is the excitement of here, because the first thing you do on your turn, and the most important thing you do, is draw a new tile, show it to everyone, and put it on the board. And that's always like, ooh, what tile is it? Oh, volcano!
And usually, about 3/4 of the way through the game, and this happens every single time I've ever played, players will start, because it can affect the game. So during Scott's turn, Alex and I both draw our tiles and look at him and go, haha, you're not going to believe what's coming up. Oh my God.
Yeah, you're really not supposed to do that.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. It only would matter if we were timing our turns.
Yeah, it does matter for you get time to think about where you're going to place it.
It doesn't matter because the other problem with this game is that for a good player, it's so painfully obvious where you should put things.
Yeah, it's not like this board for Tikal has a whole lot of spaces on it. So, and there's not too many places that you can legally place your tile anyway. So it's not a difficult decision.
I guess the end sum of all this is that Tikal is a fun game the first few times you play it, and is otherwise generally not a great game.
Oh, I think it's definitely a good game. It is worth playing many times.
Yes.
But in the long run, you're probably just going to be like, Tikal, maybe play it once every few months or so, every year.
Part of it is that we played it. I played it 15 or 20 times over the course of several months. And then it wasn't really solved in that someone could always win, but it was solved in that everyone knew exactly how the game was going to progress, and it wasn't fun anymore. So I put it away, and just recently we pulled it out again, partly because we're desperate for new goddamn games to play. We've been playing the games we have constantly, and Tikal was hidden upstairs, so we kept forgetting I owned it.
Yep. Well, if you want to play Tikal, you can go and buy it, which shouldn't be too difficult.
It's on Spiel by Web, isn't it?
Yep, that's what I was about to say. If you go to spielbyweb.com, SPIELBYWEB.com, it's this fun website that lets you play a certain set of German board games for free against other people on the internet. The way it works generally is you go to this website, it shows you the game, you take your turn, and then it emails you when it's your turn again, and you go back to the website and you take your turn, and then it emails you when it's your turn again. And that's all you do. And Tikal is one of the games that they have available there, and it's free. So if you've never played Tikal, you can go there and read the rules, and then you can play a game for fun. And you'll see if you like this before you spend any money on it.
But in general, I wouldn't recommend, if you see it, buying the whole Mask trilogy. I would definitely recommend Java ahead of Tikal. I like Java a lot more.
I can't say because I only played Java once, so I don't remember it.
I don't know. I feel like the gameplay of Java is more interesting while you're playing. Tikal falls into this lull/rut about just over halfway through the game where you stop caring because you already know who's winning, and you already know they're winning by a lot, and you generally start to feel how the game's gonna progress. And while someone could catch up, you'll feel that coming. The game doesn't surprise you a lot. The game doesn't stay interesting. I really feel like I just want to go play with my mudkips instead of playing Tikal about halfway through.
Yeah, I definitely see that. About halfway through, the worst is when you're not winning, because then it feels really terrible. Because like you'll generally spend a bunch of action points, and if you're losing, you'll spend a bunch of action points, and then someone else will be like, "Haha, that was a waste of action points. Watch this." And then suddenly, all those action points you just spent will be wasted because you'll like dig up a temple and someone will take it from you, or you'll move a bunch of guys into a temple and then someone else will put the machine gun guy on top, and you're like, I just lost all those action points that I just spent. And it feels like ass, and it basically at that point you've lost. And you don't really want to play anymore.
The other problem is all those fun tactics we were talking about, like, oh, I jumped in on your guy, or oh, you didn't count, but I had enough guys over there, even though it didn't look like it, to suddenly take that temple from you. Or, oh, scoring round, look where I put the volcano. Because after you've played the game a bunch of times, there is no trick that is not obvious if you take the time to actually look at the board before you take your turn. There is no way you could ever be caught off guard by a trick unless you weren't paying attention or you hadn't played the game a lot before. So that aspect of the game disappears pretty quick, and then you're left with a generally boring game.
Yeah, in the recent times we've played, I was only surprised once when Alex put down the empty tile and then immediately put the tent on it and unloaded a whole bunch of guys right into that big temple. Remember that?
I remember that. I was expecting it, but it wasn't going to hurt me, so I didn't care.
Yeah, I just didn't see that coming. Like, that wasn't even an option for like in my brain, and then now it is.
Yeah, well, part of it is that, like, the way the game is, there are options that, on a logical level, especially for a novice player, and even for experienced players, just the way the game is set up, you'll know intellectually that, yes, theoretically, Scott could, by spending X action points, put this here and take that temple from me. But you don't think they'll actually do it.
Yeah,
you feel like, why would he actually do that? He won't do that. But then he does it because it's actually the best thing to do, and you were just stupid.
Yeah, it's like, because it seems the way the action points work, like to build a tent, which it's basically a guy factory.
It costs 5.
It costs 5 action points. That's half your turn to build a tent, right? But the tent allows you to make guys pretty much on a brand new tile. That's crazy powerful. So people will spend those 5 action points, build the tent in a crazy way, and do something crazy dangerous that you wouldn't see coming because you don't expect someone to spend 5 action points.
Yep, like you feel as though spending 5 is way too expensive. But then you realize that no, it's worth exactly 5. You get 5 action points worth of value from doing it.
Yep.
Oh no, oh snaps.
Yep.
I mean, if you see Tikal for cheap or used, pick it up. It's fun. Especially if you're kind of new into German board gaming. If you just played Settlers and Carcassonne, you're looking for something more. Tikal is definitely still one of those fun starter games, and I highly recommend it for that. But
yeah, it's definitely light enough that someone who's not the master can understand the game and how it works and have a lot of fun with it. And
yes, it's really easy to teach. However, the rules are pretty piss poor. The rule book, good God.
Maybe that's our rule book. I don't know. Maybe the rules have been updated.
I don't know. Just go
Maybe
online
not.
and find an abridged rule instructions, because this is one of those older games where the rules teach you by example, and the rules rationalize things that don't need to be rationalized. Like, the rulebook goes out of its way to point out that the way guys get between your camps is with secret passages. And it says this a bunch of times. And there's a lot of sentences in the rulebook that provide no information at all. They are just there in your way.
Yeah, it's like, all right, I like the board games to have a theme, or otherwise you get, Dice Wars. But
what's wrong with Dice Wars?
Nothing. But at the same time, I don't want the theme to be all up in the rules. The theme should just be, the pictures on the tiles and, what the pieces look like.
Or the kind of game.
Or the kind of game it is.
Or then again, I mean...
But I don't want you to write about secret passages in the rules where that doesn't mean anything. Everything that's written in the rules should be how to play, how the game works,
now, you
etc.
could draw the secret passages, or you could mention them in the sidebar, or in a note, or in a call-out box, or, God, call-out, I've been doing Visio too much, but some sort of thing, and it's okay, but the moment you clutter the actual rules with that garbage is no good, is Yonda.
Yeah, it's very Yonda. Sort of like, actually, the secret passages remind me of Clue.
Ah, Clue. There's a game that was fun when I was 6, and then I figured it out.
Yeah, if only that game was more complex, it would still be
You know what the worst thing is?
the best game.
I used to piss my family off because basically the only strategy to Clue is to maximize your going around to all the rooms, because the rooms is the only part that you can't just say.
Yep.
You can't just say in the billiard room unless you're in the billiard room. But you can always say with the knife, no matter where you are.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would do is I'd go around to half the rooms real quick, and then I'd sit in one room for like 10 rounds. And I'd say, and my family was so mad. Say I had the knife in my hand, and I had Professor Plum in my hand. I'd be like, Professor Plum with the knife in the billiards room.
Yep.
And then if no one said anything, I'd be like, I win, you guys are all chumps.
Yep.
And no one thought to do things like that, so.
That's
That's
Clue
how-
is a very solvable and easy game.
But see,
I actually prefer Simpsons Clue, which is more fun.
that's how every German board game is eventually, except for the true great classics. And even those might be that way someday. We're just not smart enough to figure it out.
Which is good enough.
Yep. But like Settlers and Tikal, eventually you'll figure them out and they won't be fun anymore. But if you're new into board gaming, or you just really need to change it up, check Tikal out. If you're more discriminating, check out Java. I like Java a lot.
I never played it. I played it once, and I don't remember it.
Here's
so.
the thing. The Dragon's Den has it for kind of cheap because it's an open box. And the only reason I didn't buy it last weekend was that I didn't want to carry it around. I'll buy it next time I go to Moz.
Yep.
The other thing is I think there's also an open Java at Millennium.
Oh.
Because remember I got that Entdecker for like $25?
Well, this weekend I'm going to Moz, and you're going to Millennium, so we'll communicate.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.